We cannot escape space in our existence. We are drowned in space. As the unnamed fragments of indefinite space come under human scrutiny, habitat, and activity, they gradually become places with definite names. The process of naming is important in the process of evolution of a space to a place. Demographic data of 2001 show that there are about 40,889 villages and 266 towns in West Bengal alone. If villages and towns of Bangladesh are included, the number and variety of Bangla place names will increase many folds. We will not be able to scrutinize this large variety of names and their etymology, but some indicative tendencies of the naming process can be discussed. We did not know that the video journey in search of Bangla place names would lead us at the very first stop to a dying course of river, the ancient flow of Bhagirathi, Adiganga, and an old crematorium besides it, saturated with dense and suffocating memories of departed people over the centuries. In the crematorium, where the mortal existence fades away, two signs hang side by side: the personal names of the dead and the place names from where they hailed.
Personal names and place names have an interesting similarity. When one considers the internal structure of personal names and place names, one finds that just as personal names have a name and a surname part to it, similarly a place name has a name and a classifier part to it, or a token and a classifier part to it. They will occur in the same order. For example, Medinipur, or something like Kalighat, or something like Radhavallabhpur. One finds that Pur or Ghat is a classifier, and what precedes is the kind of specifier or the specifying name or the name.
Very often, it is the first settlers of an unnamed space who provide the name for that area. Thus, the identity of the place is imagined in the collective minds of the dwellers. If we loosely generalize, there might be birth and death of place names, as it happens for personal names.
কোনো কোনো জায়গায় 7 পুরুষ ধরে ভালো মানুষ, ভালো আবহাওয়া, ভালো খাওয়া দাওয়া, খাল বিল, হাট বাজার, গুলজার, সেখানকার কুকুরও বুক ফুলিয়ে হাঁকলে মনোহরনগর, সাবেক মনোহরনগর, হালে মনোহর। এমনি যেখানে পাখিদের সুখ, সেসব জায়গার নাম এক এক কুকুরও হেঁকে দিচ্ছে। যেমন যেমন হাঁসের দল, সারসের দল মাথার উপর দিয়ে উড়ে যাচ্ছে। সোহাগদার, দৌলতপুর, সুনামগঞ্জ, গ্রামে গ্রামে ঘরের মটকায় কুকুরো সব পাহারা দিচ্ছে। ঘাটিতে ঘাটিতে চলন্ত পাখিরা তাদের কাছে খবর পাচ্ছে। যেখানে ফল ফুলরি ফসল ঢের, সেসব জায়গায় কুকুররা হাঁকছে দানাশিরি, লাঙ্গলবাঁধ, উলুরহাট, আন্তাজুরি, জাঙ্গিপুর। হাঁস, পদ্মনাল এমনি সব খেতে পছন্দ করে। যেখানে খালে বিলে এসব জন্মেছে, সেখানকার কুকুরও হাঁকছে সাতনল, নলচিটে, পাতেরহাট, বেদগাঁ, বেতাজি, শোলাভাঙা, শাকেরহাট। যেখানে খাবার নেই, তার কুকুরও হাঁকলে ঝালকাঠি, কাটিপাড়া, আশাশুন্নি, সন্ন্যাসীহাট। যেখানে ছায়া করা বন অনেক, সেখানকার নাম হাঁকলে কুকুরো কমলাবাড়ি, ফুলঝুরি, ডাকেটিয়া, শিরিষদিয়া, কোকিলামুখ। যেখানে ছোট বড় নদী, ছোট বড় মাছ, কুকুরো হাঁকলে চাঁদপুর, ইলশেঘাট, ব্যাংদুই, বোয়ালিয়া, বোয়ালমারি।
According to scholars, place names are important elements in a language. Indeed, in a space like Bengal, which has, over the centuries, witnessed several chains of movements and migrations of races and episodes of linguistic amalgamation and alteration, place names manifest the various episodes of cultural and linguistic struggles and positioning. The name of Bengal, whether we take it as Bongo or its derivatives, did not figure in the earliest Aryan spatial schemes between the 1st and the 2nd millennium BC.
भारतवर्ष, गंधर्व, सौम्य, बारुण, नागद्वीप, इंद्रद्वीप, गवस्तिमान, ताम्रपर्व, कशेरु.
It is estimated that the name Indrodeep referred to places east of the river Brahmaputra and a considerable part of the present Bangladesh. In Manusriti, the eastern boundary of Madhyadesh was assumed as Prayag, and the definition of Arjabotto used to include present North Bengal. The reason for Bengal being neglected in the scheme of old Aryan geography was possibly due to the fact that since prehistoric times, this region had been inhabited by non-Aryan population, especially various tribes. Some old place divisions like Punro, Rarho were associated with tribes of similar names who inhabited the respective regions. The references to the ancient places like Vongo, Punro, Rarho were not always glorious. The Punro tribe was mentioned as Doshu in Oitoreo Brahmon, written in 7th century BC. In Oitoreo Arannok, the people of Vongo and Mogud were referred as Oshur.
वयांसि वंगावगधाश्चेरपादाः.
Monu Shanghita says, Potito Khotriyo people inhabited Pondro Desh.
पुंड्रकाशूद्र द्राविड़ा कन्वोज यवनाशकाः.
From various Puranic accounts, we come to know the 5 sons of Vali. As mentioned in legends like Vayu Puran and Matsya Puran, these sons were Ongo, Kolingo, Punro, Shumho, and Vongo. This is one of the first few Aryan texts where 3 major areas of Bengal, Punro, Shumho, and Vongo, get mentioned. Cultural historian Binoy Ghosh observes that this legend indicates the cultural process of Aryanization of a large part of Bengal. Punro is mentioned in the Ramayana. However, in Mahabharata, we do find the mention of areas of Bengal, especially in Bhima's route of conquest, when Yudhishthir did the Rajasuya Yajna and Bhima went on to conquer large areas. Regions like Shumho, Proshumho, Vongo, Korvot, Mollo, Somudro fell in the route of his conquest.
तत दक्षिणमल्लांश भोगवन्तञ्च पर्वतं तत सुम्मान प्रसुम्मांश्च सफक्षणपि वीर्यवान् उभौ बलभूतौ वीरावृभौ तीव्रपराक्रमौ निर्जिताजौ महाराज वङ्गराजम् उपाद्रवत् समुद्रसेनं निर्जितं चन्द्रसेनश्च पार्थिवं ताम्रलिप्तं च राजानं कर्वटाधिपतिं तथा.
Early Jain texts like Acharango Sutro, written in between 5th and 4th century BC, also provide important clues, especially about the western part of Bengal, that is Shumho and Lard or Rad. Lard is described as a region covered with thick forests where the local inhabitants humiliated a wandering Jain Tirthankar by inciting dogs against him. Ojjabhumi and Shumhobhumi are the two divisions of Lard mentioned in the text. Contrary to these derogatory images, the archaeological findings and rock inscriptions unearth signs of a vibrant civilization, along with more localized references of some old place names. The central place of governance for Pundro has been deciphered as Pundronagar near Mohastangad in Bogura. It is here that a stone edict of approximately 3rd century BC refers to Pudongol and also Sangvanga. The transformation of Pundronagar to Pudongol is accepted as a Prakrit adaptation of a Sanskrit word, or was it vice versa? There are opinions that the place named Pundra came from Pur, or sugarcane. Is it a possibility that the Pundro tribe cultivated sugarcane? In a similar vein, it has been suggested that the place name Gord came from Gur, or jaggery.
Gurasya ayang desha Gouda.
The study of place names has to go beyond the study of identifiable classifiers such as Ghat, Nagar, Pur, and the like. A place like Bengal, over centuries, has seen the coming of people who spoke languages of various language families: Indo-Aryan, Dravidian, Austric, Tibeto-Burman. This very interesting exchange of people at the societal and cultural level probably can be seen in the way the name of Bengal has changed over centuries. One possibly can go to our mythologies and ancient literature of various kinds to see or to trace the history of the naming. Now, this will be not only linguistically interesting, but also interesting from the point of view of cultural and social history.
The oldest rock inscription found in Radh region is from the 4th century AD. It is located on the rocky surface of Shushunia Hill in the present Bankura district. A place named Pushkarana is mentioned in the stone edict. As many historians have suggested, this is probably the Pokarna village located 40 kilometers northeast of Shushunia Hill. So, in a span of about 1,000 years, a considerable shift in pronunciation can be observed from Pushkarana to Pokarna. In Greek accounts like Periplus of the Erythraean Sea of 1st century AD and historical accounts of Ptolemy and Pliny, a powerful kingdom and port was described, named as Gongaridi or Gange respectively. There is one opinion that Gongaridi was placed near the present Haroa Chandraketugad region in 24 Pargana district, and as the river course feeding Gongaridi port changed its course, this important trading center went into oblivion. There are opinions that the area of Gongaridi and Vongo might have shared some common geographical areas. There are linguistic problems ascertaining how Vongo got transformed to Bongal. Jogesh Chandra Rai speculates about the transformation. After the tribe Vongo was forgotten, the area they inhabited continued to be called Vongo or Bongo, and the people residing there began to be called Bongal or Bangal. It seems the people name Bongal again transformed into a name of the region. The possible practice was to denote a place by its inhabitants and the people by their ancestral place. But this explanation faces problem from archaeological evidence. The terms Vongo and Vongal existed simultaneously in Rajendra Chol's 11th century inscription. A possible answer to this riddle could be found in the fact that precise geographical boundaries of a space were not fixed in the same way as they are done in contemporary times. Major administrative units in Bengal of Hindu era were constituted along the course of prominent rivers. We find this from the series of copperplate inscriptions since 6th century, which are mostly testimonies of land gift or bhumidan. The largest division was bhukti. We find quite a few bhuktis mentioned in the copperplate inscriptions. The limits of the bhuktis were constructed following the natural boundary of river courses. Each bhukti used to have a central administrative center, usually a town.
Vardhaman Bhukti was towards the north of the Rupnarayan River and south of the Ajay River. The administrative headquarters was Vardhaman, which is still familiar by the same name. Dandavukti was situated at the north of the river Shuvarnarekha and south of river Rupnarayan. A locality named Daton in Medinipur district still bears the trace of Dandavukti. The Irda copper plate inscription of the 10th century shows that Vardhaman Bhukti got extended up to Baleshwar and Dandavukti became part of it. But in the 11th century, King Rajendra Chor Ganga invaded the region and conquered up to the Rada, and Dandavukti became separated from Vardhaman Bhukti. Thus, it can be said, as the respective kingdoms expanded or shrunk due to the many conquests, so did the relative geographical limit of Bhuktis. The subsequent smaller divisions were Vishay, Mandal, Khandal, Vithi, Chaturak, Gram, Patak. Various copperplate inscriptions also provide us with some of the names of these smaller divisions.
Interestingly, in the references of Pundrabardhan Bhukti, there are several mentions of the southern part of the Gangetic Delta, that is, the estuaries and the mangrove forest area. There is a mention of Khari, which literally means estuary and was both a Mondol and Vishay. A village named Khari can still be found in Dokhin Chobbish Pargona district, which is possibly the toponymic remnant of ancient Khari Mondol. The other significant example is Baghrototi Mondol. The name suggests the presence of tigers on the bank of the rivers. Without doubt, it suggests the mangrove forest region of Sundarban. The confluence area of Bhagirathi and Brahmaputra with Bay of Bengal is now known as Bagri, a possible derivation from Baghrototi. It is commonly believed that the name Sundarban comes from a kind of mangrove tree, Sundari, or Heritiera littoralis. The matter gets a little complicated if we refer to a copperplate inscription of Keshav Sen's rule. This 1136 AD inscription mentions a tribe named Chandobandhu living in the present Sundarban area. Just like Sundarban, the metropolis Kolkata 800 years ago was nothing more than marshy land and mangrove forest, while Betoddo, or currently Betor, in the Howrah district, would have been the closest known place at that time. It is assumed that common people used Prakrit place names. At times, place names were Sanskritized before being mentioned in royal documents and edicts. For example, in one edict, the place name is Kshudrak, while in colloquial practice, it might be Khudrun.
Kshudrak, Khudrun, Trighattika, Teghata, Tailakampa, Telkupi.
But the tendency of royal documents to maintain exclusive Sanskritized place names could not always be carried out, possibly due to the linguistic pressure of the common folks and the dominance of orthototshomo and totbhava words in their daily common parlance. The totshomo words, in the current form of Bangla, denote the Sanskrit words borrowed and used in the same Sanskritic form. Modern Indo-Aryan languages, including Bangla, have two classes of Todbhabu words. The first covers the words which came to these languages from the native or inherited vocabulary of Old Indo-Aryan through Prakrit and Apubhrangsho much before the days of formalization of Sanskrit. A second class of Todbhabu words covers words which have their origin in classical Sanskrit and which were originally borrowed into Prakrit or Apubhrangsho as Totshamus, but which, over the course of time, changed in form to fit the phonology of the recipient language. Orthototshamu denotes the early borrowings from Sanskrit, which got subsequently modified according to the pronunciation preferences of the common folk over the various centuries. Few place names in inscriptions show combination of Totshamu and Todbhabu words like
Tambra Pathar Khanda, Rohit Badi, Ghat Chompak.
The copperplate inscription found in the village Bhatira in Sylhet is very important because it carries more than 50 place names of mid-11th century.
Akhani Kul, Yindai Nagar, Itakhala.
All the names are either in Orthototshamu or Todbhabu form. It shows some of the naming forms which are available currently as well. Most of the place names of Bengal are composed of two words or components. The second or end component, in cases where they were originally Sanskrit, have changed over the centuries to a mere suffix or disguised compound. The degree of this change provides a clue to the antiquity of the place name. If we compare three current place names where the end component had been Vati, in Bolorambati the change is less. In Bangalbadi the change is moderate, and in Goari the change substantial. So, from the linguistic point of view, Goari would be older than Bangalbadi and Bangalbadi would be older than Bolorambati. Some of the disguised compounds identified in contemporary place names of Bengal have descended from Totshamu forms. Those hidden compounds show some average tendency behind the nomenclature. The land form of the place like Deep, Rod, proximity to forest and certain vegetation like Vana, Vani, Potro, a place suitable for housing like Agar, Abash, Dham, and so on.
Deep, Ardi, as in Boradi, Borodip, in Moymonsinho district. Deep, Dia, as in Bahir Dia, Bahir Deep, in Khulna district. Rod, Doho, Da, as in Shialda, Srigal Doho, Shoibal Doho, in Kolkata. Vani, Ni, as in Tilni, Tilavani, in Dinajpur district. Potro, Ta, as in Nimta, Nimbopotro, in 24 Parganas district. Vatika, Ri, as in Goari, Gopovatika, in Nodia district. Agar, Ar, as in Dhamar, Dharmagar, in Moymonsinho district. Dham, Dha, as in Noldha, in Khulna district. Devokolika, Deuli, as in Kodam Deuli, in Bankura district.
But before getting soaked into too much of this constructed etymology, we might remember the words of caution from Jogesh Chandra Rai Vidyanidhi in an essay, Gramer Naam, published in a 1910 issue of the then famous magazine Probashi. He wrote,
সংস্কৃত শব্দের বাংলা বিকার সূত্র ধরিয়া গ্রামের নামের মূল রূপ ধরা যাইতে পারে। বিকার সূত্র যদি একটা হইত, এই রূপে নির্ণীত নামে সন্দেহ হইত না। অর্থ জানা না থাকায় বিকার সূত্র ধরায় ভুল হয় এবং তখন একটা কল্পিত নাম আসিয়া পড়ে।
আমার তো মনে হয় এইটাই দক্ষিণ গাঙ্গেয় অববাহিকা, নাকি বলো? ওই যে দক্ষিণ গাঙ্গেয় অববাহিকা, ভূগোল। আচ্ছা শোনো, এই ধরো গঙ্গা এই হিমালয় থেকে নেমে এখন মুর্শিদাবাদের টিকির কাছে এসে দুভাগে ভাগ হয়ে গেল। এটা গেল বাঁয়ে পদ্মা, আর এইতে সিঁড়ে নামলো এসে সমুদ্রের দিকে, যার নাম হলো গিয়ে হুগলি। এখন এই হুগলি যতই বঙ্গোপসাগরের কাছের দিকে যেতে লাগলো, এই দিক দিয়ে বেগে গেলে তুমি পাচ্ছ কি ওখানে সুন্দরবন পাচ্ছ। হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা, আবার এই দিক থেকে তুমি গিয়ে পাচ্ছ কি?
The Bengal Delta, being the largest riverine delta in the world, is full of intense fluvial activities. Those geological processes also got recorded at times in several place names of Bengal. It shows the accumulation of keen observations of our ancestors over various generations, because to note a geological process is not easy, as it operates on a much larger time scale than human life.
Bengal Delta is one of the youngest features added to the Indian landmass. The growth of the delta is marked by the changes of the river courses, and thus we find the formations of many oxbow lakes and U-shaped remnants of the rivers. In the process, several island-like features which were developed because of the shifting of rivers have become a part of the landmass. One example is Navadip, which literally means a new island. But today's Navadip is not an island, so that indicates that man has witnessed the process while they name it as a Navadip. Creek or Khali is a very important feature in delta. They form at the mouth of the rivers and they allow the tide waters to enter into the landmass. We have several Khalis in the present-day Sundarban. One is Sojne Khali, there is one Bok Khali, and there are many other Khalis like that. But we find in the place names farther north of Sundarban some Khalis like Koi Khali near Calcutta or Dhone Khali near in Hooghly district. These names indicate the process of delta formations were operative at some time, where the people have seen these places where there used to be a khali or creeks.
তিনি পাগলের হচ্ছে মেলা নদের মাঝে, তিনি পাগলের হচ্ছে মেলা নদের মাঝে, পাগলের দেশে যাবি পাগল হবি বুঝবি শেষে, তোরা কেউ যাস না ও পাগলের দেশে।
Likewise, place names cast their shadows on our living and being through various means and suggestions. Place names are an integral part of our mortal consciousness.
তাতে জল তোলা ফেলা করণ দোষে, পাগলের দেশে যাবি পাগল হবি, আজাই পাগল নামে ধরেছে, ধুলার মাঝে পড়ছে ঢুলে, সইতে পাগল নামে ধরেছে, ধুলার মাঝে পড়ছে ঢুলে, পাগলের দেশে যাবি পাগল হবি বুঝবি শেষে, তোরা কেউ যাস না ও পাগলের দেশে।